it's hard to imagine, but the year that we're going to be talking about, the Soviet Union existed in the first half of this season, but not the second half.
That's a heck of a fall off of the All-Star break.
Yeah. Things really took a turn around Christmas.
Really took a turn.
Yeah, and didn't recover much, but
no.
That
Gorbachev, he looks so promising, and then now he goes into a Pizza Hut ad.
Oh yeah, I forgot about those.
Gorbachev, Pizza Hut.
I'm gonna have to link this in the show notes so you can actually.
All right,
so the kids know what we're talking about.
Next on Ugly Thirds.
Please.
Welcome back to another episode of Ugly Thirds. Today's topic is the 75th anniversary throwback jerseys from NHL. John Shrimp's taken away.
He was all over them, man.
Well, the asshole was this thing and this thing, so you got what he got. Let's move on.
So, throwback jerseys are newer as a concept than you think. I was really trying to find it. I think the first ever throwback jersey was the Chicago White Sox in 1990.
That Sox one? Was that, or was
no,
that
they
wore that wearing?
Yeah, no, they threw way back to, I think, 1917. Like, I think, feel free to double check me, but I know you watched a story on it eventually, like at some point. I couldn't find it immediately in the research for this. But throwbacks are a rather new thing. And the NHL had its 75th anniversary season in 1991-92 with this wonderful patch.
Yep.
No jersey cam?
Whoa.
Did you grab the NHL 100th patch thing? Oh, yes, I did. Yes.
Stop moving.
Oh, God. So, I mean, that's a nice logo.
It's pretty good.
That's a pretty good logo. It's got speed. Look at that speed.
Nice.
And the NFL in 1994 did throwbacks for every team. And I think they based it on what the NHL did for the 75th, which was to have the original 6 teams got out special jerseys that they wore when they played each other.
Nice.
Kind of like how Boston did for their 100th. They had that third jersey they wore against the original 6 teams, which is such a shame that 25 years later, you think a 75th anniversary is fine, it's great, but like a 100th anniversary, all we got were these sleeve patches. Phil, you ready for the next one?
It's having problems focusing.
You're having problems? Well, we all know you're having problems focusing.
Jersey cam's usually more reliable than that. Ooh, nice.
It's the gold.
It's on me.
The gold is having issues.
There you go.
Yeah, so like that's all we got. Not even on the chest, on the sleeves for every team in the league.
We had to make room for the advertisement.
Well, it was coming. And the NFL only changed the collar logo. Really a shame that the leagues had fun at 75 and just wouldn't after that.
It's fair.
They got too corporate.
That's fair.
So we're going to do another one where we do the live rankings. We haven't talked about what the rankings of these should be. We're going to look through all 6 of the NHL original 6 throwbacks, as well as the All-Star game, and rank them from 1 to 8.
I imagine most people didn't remember that they did this. Kind of like in 04 when they did that.
The NHL
Vintage Series. Sorry, This was Turn Back the Clock. But the fact that it wasn't a thing.
It was a very odd thing, and not a lot of these jerseys are super different from what they were wearing anyway.
Yeah.
So, no, it probably didn't get near enough press. But opening night, it was all original 6. All 6 teams played, and they wore these jerseys. Like they did a bit, but this is a whole different era with sports marketing.
Yep.
There wasn't any kind of social media. There wasn't an internet to worry about to post this stuff.
Right.
Very different world.
Okay, let's do it. Let's get our baseline here.
Let's start with the New York Rangers. I'll use the proper tripods at first. Phil, when does this throw back to?
That throws back. You didn't put these in.
I did.
No, you did not.
I did.
No, because you put Detroit first.
Okay. Oh, they're not in the right order, Phil. I thought you could figure out a note card.
You just told me you did. 1929 to 42.
So this is what the Rangers were wearing that same season. So this is the color jersey versus color jersey. Obviously, there's a big difference in the name and the collar. Stripes, there is a difference.
A little difference.
but it's not a lot of difference. And let's zoom in, because there's something interesting about these that I didn't know was a thing. Like, we complain about Fanatics now, but let's zoom in on this. These are screen printed. They're printed, and then there is a stitch around it, but like shiny. Is it sparkling? Is it shiny? Yeah, like these are all printed. And so most of these, I'm trying to get them all from 91, 90. Like this is what they sold back then,
91,
right? It's the old Doreen with
So
Nazca.
so let's do this. You show up to the rink that night, not realizing anything about the anniversary or what they're doing. Are you noticing a difference between the Rangers and the Rangers?
Probably not.
Okay.
Probably not.
I'm gonna start with that concept and thought process. I'm gonna move this right here for the time being.
Okay.
Because throwbacks are meant to catch people's attention.
Well, then I think we might be on the right track with that, because this is Toronto. And again, it's the same thing. Phil, you want to zoom in on the crest? Oh, there's a lot of piling on the back here. I didn't know. It is also printed, which was shocking. But again, there's about half of these are printed logos. And you might be thinking, well, isn't this what Toronto wears now? It's close. It's close. But what was Toronto wearing then?
Slightly different.
No, this is wildly different.
Oh yeah. Sorry, my mistake.
Yeah. And if anything, I think this kicked off the trend back to the third jersey that Phil's wearing.
The one he's wearing is about a decade later.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the look that they have now, which is very similar to this.
I forgot they wore those.
Mm-hmm. And this went all the way till 94. It's around that era.
Yeah.
Like it overlaps. And I think this.
Oh, what a terrible jersey.
Mm-hmm. Well, and so the striping returns with this logo and this striping.
This is catching someone's attention.
This
in
is
1992.
This is that's the leaps that my parents remember and my grandparents remember. This is catching things.
Gotcha.
This, on the other hand, Shrems, do you even know what's different? Phil, do you know what's different?
There's a lot of logo. The crest is on the elbows too.
You got a crest on the sleeve. There's three other differences.
Collar?
The collar is one of them.
Okay.
The stripes are typically lower. It's actually a fourth. The C is completely open. And there are these stripes on the sleeve that match the hem. For context, this is what Montreal was wearing that season. And when you put the crest side by side, you can actually use Trem's will help. This is they're old and thin. You see the opening of the C? It's just a little less well put together.
Yeah, you're right.
Not a lot, not a huge change, but enough.
So along the lines of the Rangers, like if you're not looking for these differences, if you're going in there unaware that they're doing something special, you wouldn't know.
Probably not.
Okay.
And that's just it. On eBay, like I actually managed to buy a second one because people didn't know what it was.
Okay.
When you know what it is, they're listed for about $300. I got a second one for about $60.
Okay. Here it is. There we go.
Oh, okay. So Phil, we've neglected you as usual, as per tradition. Toronto, when they wear these?
63 to 67.
Okay. Montreal?
25 to 35.
And then now Boston?
34 to 36.
And this is where I first learned of the screen printing. I mean, look how shiny. I don't even need a zoom in for that.
It looks like it's wet.
Shiny.
But you walk into Boston Garden, and they come out
for
in
context.
this.
Right.
They come out in this.
Huge difference. And even if I had the white jersey, which I don't in this era,
Tons of fun.
you know the difference. Actually, that might be one of the things you notice is that they'd be wearing red at home when white at home was the standard then. You might recognize that.
Right,
And
forgot about that.
they would be color versus color if that was the case. Toronto and Montreal played the opening game that season.
And you can do blue and red.
And they wore blue and red because, again, that's what they did in the original 6.
Yep.
So that might be a way you're going to notice. But how much are you really going to notice?
Yep.
Your litmus test works. I love this design.
And the fact they've come back to it after that point in time goes to show you how clean, simple, and well done this idea is. So
the B has come back. Like, I wish this stripe that now we saw It's in that Winter Classic in Notre Dame against Chicago. It's adjacent, but it's closer to that Eddie Shore one I have
The
up there.
brown
You
one.
can see with the every stripe.
Yeah.
This, I think, is just superb. I wish they'd make an updated version of this as a third. I really do.
It'd be cool. Just get a nice vintage touch to it. This is what I remember the most.
Probably the most
Yeah.
memorable one.
Easily the most memorable one. Memorable.
And the only one I have that's original and has a name on the back with no nameplate, no sleeve numbers in any of these. Because they didn't exist then.
So were all of these accurate to that time period? Like if there were no sleeve numbers,
they did not. So they added names. There wouldn't have been names on this.
Okay.
But they omitted the sleeve numbers, which are colloquially known as TV numbers, so wouldn't have been a thing then.
Sure.
Phil, when they wear these?
Chicago wore these just 1940.
So lots of variations in these. I'm sure it goes beyond that, but I just got distracted. This you're going to notice a difference.
Yeah.
For reference.
By comparison.
Right. The usual.
It's going to stand out a bit.
Big difference here.
This was the first time that I realized up until I think it was the 70s or the 80s, Blackhawks was 2 words on their.
I want to say it was like 85.
It was
like
late.
it goes
much
way
later than I
later
thought
than
it
should.
was.
And that's how it was.
Nice.
And it's a much more dated logo. The level of detail in the face is certainly nowhere near where it ought to be. Certainly not where it is now.
Yep.
I do love a lot of this detail better than the
86,000
colors. 86.
86.
But the face leaves something to be desired.
Cool.
Yeah.
It was based on the original spelling of the franchise documents. So it was originally spelled that way when it was originally.
So Frederick McLaughlin fought in the Black Hawk Division in World War One. He came back to Chicago. He opened a restaurant, the Black Hawk Restaurant, and then he bought a team which would also help promote the restaurant, named the same thing, hence the Chicago Blackhawks.
Nice. That's good trivia.
That's what I'm here for.
If only that would be one of our questions, we would get it.
Detroit.
This is the other one that stood out to me in the time.
And the only one of these, of the regular teams that I don't have an original from the age, I have finally found ones, but they're all size small, and I'm not doing that. But
you're not small in 92?
No. I mean, most of these, some of these are like, it's a little, shouldn't go out in public with them.
And that's something about the time period as well, because something like this could be considered a large.
That's a double X. And
you get out of here.
Look at the tag.
2X. Man.
It fits, but it's not the best fit.
Insane.
Yeah. No, it all shifts in the mid 90s with high fructose corn syrup, I'd imagine. But so again, and for reference, I brought out the white. They're wearing this.
It doesn't say Detroit on there.
Yeah, how are they going to know who the team is? It's ridiculous. So big difference. Now, let's save that for the end.
Okay.
Let's rank these.
Wait.
Oh, yeah, okay. Phil getting assertive.
27, 28.
This is their original look.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
We got to rank.
Okay. My thought process is, if it's a third jersey program, it has to be different.
Which, in theory, it is. Before that was ever a term, that's what it was.
However, we're throwing back to something original.
Right.
For me, what's the point? And where are enough changes here for me to be like, I need to buy that jersey?
Which I imagine a lot of people had that thought, which is why those are hard to find.
Sure. So I'm going to leave these two down here towards the bottom.
Well, so now we have our handy-dandy multi-tiering system.
We didn't sell out of those?
No, somehow.
Wow.
Somehow we didn't. So I'm going to consolidate these up here.
So we're going to go 2, 4, 6.
So if you want to put those at the bottom of, that's 8, and then here is 7.
Oh, I see what you're doing.
So first row, second row,
Gotcha.
right?
Gotcha.
Okay. So do you want to start at the top or continue at 6 and 5?
Let's do.
You sprung a leak.
Let's do 6.
Okay.
Where are you what are you least whelmed with here?
See, now the Toronto one should be the least whelming today because it looks like what they wear now. But the context of that over-shoulder Ballard Leaf jersey,
I completely forgot. If you didn't tell me, this would be right down here somewhere.
right? Because what's the difference? But it really, and I think this started that trajectory.
It stands out.
I think the love for this launched the Leafs in the direction they are right now.
Sure.
So I can't put that low. I think as much as people love this, it's not a great design in the modern era.
No.
But I think this is worse.
That's where I was leaning.
Like it's all the aged nature of a barber pole, but the lack of a crest just makes it that much harder to love.
Fair. And from a design standpoint, it's not great.
No, there's a lot. And the fact even the reverse retro didn't just swap red and white. They should have just made a red version of this with white stripes. They went black.
Yep.
So that okay. Shows that they knew something. I guarantee they tried it, just flipping it, and it wasn't good. Then it gets tough. I think this is as beautiful as the comments I get on it. I like this better. What are your thoughts?
This sits at 1 for me.
Really?
It does. Yeah.
Okay.
This is the most memorable, but not necessarily in a good way.
Okay.
But in terms of what they were wearing, and in terms of how timeless, like what could withstand all that time.
I mean, those two really do, but because they're not any different.
Right. But this coming back in 91, and then it comes back again in certain elements years later.
Right.
I think that shows how well done from the very get-go this was.
I just think with the impact this had, this is my number 1.
Okay.
And maybe you're thinking, well, first off, maybe we should have put them back ways. It's fine. It's fine.
Everything's fine.
Everything's fine. You don't need to see the bottom tier. That's silly. This wasn't the end of the program. Because for the NHL All-Star Game that year in Philadelphia, they brought back another throwback. Mm-hmm. Phil, when were these used?
47 to 59.
Now, these were used in other capacities because before the All-Star Game was what we think of it now, they would take the Stanley Cup winning team and then the All-Stars of the other 5 teams would play before the season.
Isn't that something?
Which what a good idea to come. Like, I would love to see Stanley Cup champion versus the best of the rest of the league for a preseason game. And that's when they raise the banner. And you do that in front of the entire league. Like, what a nose thumb you get to the whole league of that's your banner night. That would be a cool thing. I'd like to see that. But then eventually the league would play a proper All-Star game. I love these things. They are not popular.
It's pajamas. It is a pajama.
So where would you put these on this list?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna start adjusting.
Because the NHL is terrible with explaining the history behind the jerseys being worn.
Ain't that the truth?
In 2024, they're terrible at it. I would imagine even more so that back in this time period,
when you don't have all the ton of press for everything,
when you don't have the ability to reach people the way you do now, this whole thing, nobody's buying into this. Nobody is out there. It's a CCM vintage. It was made well after this actual time. I don't know what yours is.
This red one is an original. Which
Okay.
I had to find the CCM first, but I did find this sucker, and I'm very happy to. And the CCM is slowly fading on it.
As they did.
Yeah. Right? There's some dry rot issues. But I freaking love these things. I'd be putting these right below Toronto and Boston if you let me. Like that's where I'm at. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I love the idea, but again, you had to explain to me why these are so unique. The premise behind those games, nobody was getting that explanation back then.
No.
And if you did, it was a quick blip in the All-Star Game preview show. And
Probably.
then, it was what it was. So, Randy Burge.
Yeah, it's blank. Honestly, though, these two have had staying power, where no one's asked for these to come back.
Yeah,
So
that's a good way to look at it.
I think that these two need to move up, and then this goes.
Okay.
That's 6 and 7. So if we're putting one, this is a very well thought out system that works very well.
You haven't explained to anybody what you've done here.
Nope.
I don't think he's figured it out.
I don't think so either, and I'm here for it. I'm along for the ride. I'm gonna sip my tea and.
You Tory.
I feel like I need to explain something to fill the
guest.
gift.
Phil, this episode is sponsored by.
I brought some clearly Canadian with me today that I found.
I was gonna make that a joke about the WHA, and then I realized that it's not really.
It's Canadian waters. It says it on the thing.
So, in doing this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, Schlemazel, Haas and Pfeffer Incorporated, that's what I did. 1, 2, 3, Blackhawks barber pole. 4, Detroit barber pole. 5 and 6, All-Star jerseys with the red being better than the white. 7, Montreal with the thing on the sleeve you'd never notice, and the Rangers being the knockoff version of the Rangers, sitting at number 8.
The Doreen version.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just block font and printed and the
Great
same
value
thing.
version.
The great value version. That's probably
very good.
So, how do we do?
Ranking system aside, now that you know where things belong, how did it go?
Maybe we need like number tags.
I think we need more tripods.
Tripods.
I think that will be. I think that's what we'll do.
What if we had a quadrupod?
Quadpod.
I'll let you to mull that out.
Anyway, we'll put these up for sale. These quadpod
game
used quad pod holders.
We'll display them at the next expo.
Okay. Oh yeah, nice. They're gonna love it. They're gonna love us bringing our own things.
Absolutely.
So without being asked or paying to do so.
He's Shrimps. I'm John. Phil, take us out.
I can.
Okay, then don't. Just sit here in silence.
Don't forget to like that subscribe button, ring the bell to get notifications when we post other videos, and come back for another episode of Ugly Thirds.
Did he say that scribe button?
And scribe.
I stuttered. It happens. Thank you very much.
More Phil!